Everyone, welcome back to our third episode of the All Ball No Foul podcast. I'm Alex. I'm here with my co-host Nick. And Nick, what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to be talking about, we're going to recap the first couple weeks of the season so far. We're going to talk about our biggest surprises right now, especially in the Western Conference. There's two teams that we'll get into, pretty soon in this podcast that have made some huge noise so far in the West. And we're going to talk about one specific player in the West that's had a little sneaky breakout season that nobody's hardly talking about, but we're going to make sure that we're going to give him his props. And then we're also going to talk about the Eastern Conference a little bit and how, there's teams that were supposedly good, but they're off to slow starts right now, and then we're going to break down a little bit why they're off to those slow starts.
And all these topics, again, are going to be a huge analysis of the last couple of weeks. No, you guys have been waiting for our third episode. Me and Nick have been talking, making sure that we get a better schedule down. So if you guys have not checked out our first two episodes, both episodes are on YouTube, and our last episode was put on Spotify. So check your notifications and make sure to follow our Spotify and subscribe to our YouTube channel for more content as we keep moving forward. So Nick, I know that you were talking about our big topics for the week, and I think let's just start out with the biggest surprises out west, and starting with the Utah Jazz.
Yeah, absolutely. To the people that have watched episode 1 and episode 2, Alex and I, we kind of talked a little bit about how Utah was going to be a team that was going to struggle a lot and how they were going to want to be in the lottery to try to get Victor.
Yep.
We thought that they weren't going to be good, especially they traded two all-star players and Donovan Mitchell and Rudy Gobert, and everyone thought, they're in a full rebuild. But no, I mean, they're 10-5 right now.
Mm-hmm.
They're third in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
They're 5-0 at home. They're protecting their home court, and then they're 9-3 in the tough Western Conference right now. That's the biggest surprise to me. And what's very interesting about Utah is, they don't have a lot. They don't have like the all-star, star, superstar caliber player, but they have 6 players currently on their team averaging double figures a night, and they're shooting a high percentage from three as a team. They're shooting 37% from three-point range, and we got to talk about Lauri Markkanen.
And I gotta say, Nick, as a Bulls fan, remembering Lauri in the Bulls jersey, it definitely hurts. I mean, he's, I think one of the things is that ever since last season when he went with that sign and trade to Cleveland, I just kind of feel like people lost track of him. Lauri this season, just to give you guys some numbers, right now he's currently averaging 22 points a game, 9 rebounds a game. He's shooting really well from the floor at 53%, and he is shooting from 35% from three. And I think one of the things that people also might not remember is that he was a draft night trade to the Bulls for the number 7 pick when they traded Jimmy back in 2017. And one of the biggest things that Lauri was drafted for was his ability to stretch the floor and also having a promising offensive game. So a couple things that I think, Nick, that stick out to me when I look at Lauri is that his first 2 years in Chicago, he had promise. So
absolutely,
I think everybody forgets that. He played 68 games his first year. He was 15-7 from for points and rebounds. And he shot decent from the three. I mean, he was at 36% clip, and then he followed it up with a better second year.
Absolutely.
With almost 19 points a game, and almost averaging a double. He grabbed 9 boards, and he also shot similar from the field, 43% and 36, but I mean, he was taking more shots, and I think one of the things too was he didn't have the ability to stay on the floor, and I think that was a huge concern with Lauri's health. I know that he got shut down his rookie year with his shoulder. Second year was the heart problem and the fatigue. And once Zach really took over, I feel like Lauri's career just kind of seemed like it was not going to be the same, especially with the Vooch trade that happened in 2021.
I completely agree, and especially I think a lot of the Bulls fans' criticisms were, even though he was shooting 36% from three, but he was only shooting 43% from the field, and people just, us Bulls fans realize, you're 7 feet tall, and obviously there's a lot of pick and rolls, and teams, when they know that you can shoot as the screener, they're going to switch automatically so they can take away the pick and pop. And, with Lauri, he wasn't taking advantage of those mismatches whenever the switches were coming off the screens. I think us as Bulls fans, we thought about, especially with the emergence of Zach LaVine, we felt like he was just sitting on the perimeter too much.
Yeah, no, and I think one thing with Laurie too, especially after his sophomore year in the league, I kind of feel like he took a step back in terms of just overall progression. And one of the things, like you said, was his lack of really being dominant in the paint. I mean, when you're 7 feet tall, and I hate to say it, but the NBA, and not just the NBA, but a lot of basketball, everybody shoots a three. Yeah. And everybody stands at the three-point line. And nobody is really trying to drive in anymore. Like, you don't have guys that are dominating the paint, like Shaq did back in his day, or Hakeem, or Kareem. It's sad to see the game has, only just become the three-point shot because of Steph.
Yeah.
So I think that's one thing that I look at a lot of times with the way the league has gone. I think that's something with Laurie. It's great to see how he's really doing well in Utah. I did not expect this. I know I said they were going to tank.
I especially said it too. So I'm at the same time really happy for them because now, obviously they hear what's in the media, how they're going to be terrible. They're going to be one of the bottom 5 teams in the league. Things like that. And they're just going out there playing the game of basketball, and they're playing it the right way right now as a team. They don't care about the opponent. They don't care about how much more talent they have than them. And they're just going out there, and they're playing so freely right now because the odds are always against them.
And they've played some of the better teams in the NBA already. And I think one of the things that, when you have 6 guys that are averaging double figures, I think Jordan Clarkson being one of those guys that has been consistently on the team. Obviously with Laurie, Colin Sexton, who, last year was injured in Cleveland, kind of was an afterthought with the emergence of Darius Garland as an all-star. I think getting to see him in a role where he's able to still show he has, game.
Yeah.
And I'm curious to see how well Utah is going to stay. I still feel, and I think everybody knows that Danny Ainge meme on Twitter, if you've seen it, where he's cringing. I still feel like Danny is going to probably pull some trades, and I think that team is still going to end up getting blown up at some point.
Yeah.
But we'll see how far this goes. I think that they still have the ability to win games, and they can shoot from the three.
If they keep the way that they're shooting right now, if they could keep this percentage up, and they're actually one of the best defensive teams in the Western Conference too, which only helps.
Yeah.
So if they could keep that up, like I said, I don't know how long this is going to last, just because eventually the talent does catch up to you eventually.
100%. And I think, like you were talking about with defense, that brings me to another team that we should talk about, and I think that would be the Portland Trailblazers.
Yeah, absolutely. They're currently 9-4 right now. They're the number 1 seed in the conference. Portland has been better on they're 6-2 on the road right now. They're 7-3 in conference play, so they're taking care of business against teams in their conference. And so this is very surprising because Damian Lillard has missed 5 games.
Yeah, and I think the crazier part too is you think about guys that have kind of gone around in the league. So you bring in guys like Justice Winslow and Josh Hart to really bolster that defense because right now Chauncey Billups, Gary Payton. Crazier thing though, Nick, Gary Payton hasn't played a single game this year.
Yep.
And I think that their defense, which is number 1 in the West right now, they're holding teams down below 104 points. And I really got to say, a lot of people were doubting Chauncey last year. I know that obviously with Dame with his abdomen and the injury with that, and really
when they traded CJ McCollum too.
Yeah, and just blowing up that team, we're really seeing what Chauncey is able to now have as he has a team that was built around Dame, and they at least have some perimeter defenders out there. But like you said, Dame has missed first 5 of their first 13 games. So what do you think?
Well, they can keep this up. What's interesting is they have 3 players on their team right now that are currently averaging 20 or more a game. Obviously, Dame, Simons and Grant. They're all averaging 20 plus a game right now. They're shooting 39% from 3, so they're shooting better than Utah right now from the 3-point line. Utah shooting it incredibly well. And yeah, man. So
I mean, I think one of the things that you just mentioned too with Jeremy Grant and him being one of those guys that are leading their scoring, we don't really talk a lot about that trade right now. I mean, when they traded for him this offseason, all they had to give up was, and let me make sure I'm reading this right. So this past year's 36th pick, they gave up a future second round pick and the Bucks 2025 first round pick, which, let's be honest, Giannis ain't going anywhere. Yeah. So I think Jeremy Grant being a 3 option on this team is really going to help their ability to win games, because he's not a number 1 on Detroit. Like, he just really doesn't fit that number 1 option or being a number 2, but number 3 behind Simons and Dame Dalla. I think that's going to really help them win games. And I think if you have Damian Lillard, you're going to at least make the play-in, maybe a 6 seed, but that's really pushing it. I think that they'll be between the 7 to 10 range in some capacity, but I think the emergence of, obviously, Anthony Simons this year, he's averaging like 10, he's taking 10 threes a game. He's shooting from a decent clip, I believe 42% from 3. I don't know, man. I think they can be decent. I think they've been a surprise. I think they'll cool down, but I think that I
just feel like they have a nice balance to their roster.
Yeah,
they got obviously a couple guys that could get a bucket at any point.
Yeah,
they got guys that can shoot it from 3. They got Nurkic. They got their big. As long as he stays healthy, he averages a double every night. And they got some energy guys like Justice Winslow, Josh Hart. And I'm very excited to see Gary Payne when he comes back.
I was just about to say that,
because what his role with Golden State, it would be very similar in Portland, but I think his role offensively would be a little bit more than what it was at Golden State too. So I'm very excited to see him.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think that we'll see how valuable Gary Payton is going to be to this team too. Where is he going to fit in? How is Chauncey Billups going to integrate him into the lineup?
Yeah.
And Nick, talking about some great surprises to begin our NBA season. Let's talk about those disappointments out west, because I know we harped on this in the first episode. Those 5 draft picks, 3 first round picks, 2 seconds, man.
Yep.
What's going on with Minnesota? What is going on?
Minnesota, that's very interesting right now. They're sitting at 6 and 8 right now. They're 11th in the Western Conference. Both home and on the road, they're under 500. 4 and 5 at home and 2 and 3 on the road. They're allowing 116 points per game, and they're not shooting the 3 ball well. They're only shooting 33% from 3. In the 3-point era, if you're shooting only 33% as a team, and you're giving up 116 points per game, especially in the Western Conference, you're really not going anywhere.
No, and I mean, like, one of the things too is that they lost a lot of the perimeter defenders in that deal to Utah for Rudy. Mm-hmm. I mean, I know Pat Bev hasn't been great on the Lakers, but he was an energy guy on that team. Let's be honest, like, as much as we love to clown on Pat, like, he's a decent defender. He can annoy people and he can get under your skin.
Yeah.
You obviously have a guy like Malik Beasley who can, 1, shoot the 3. The other thing too was he was a decent defender. Another guy like Jared Vanderbilt, who you traded as well.
Yeah.
That's another, depth piece. And I mean, you got a guy like Kyle Anderson, but I mean, Kyle Anderson is not in his Spurs days anymore.
No, he's not. Or even in his Memphis days a little bit.
Yeah, and I don't really feel like their defense looks amazing. I mean, when you have a shot blocker like Rudy, and you said how many points again?
116 points per game right now.
I mean, like, that's pretty sad to think about. And another thing too is Karl Anthony Towns cannot play defense. D'Lo cannot play defense. They don't have a good defensive team. And one of the other things too, Nick, that I want to point out is, where is Anthony Edwards? Because
that's interesting, especially in the last 5 games. He just hasn't shown up, hasn't really been himself at all. He has 2 games that are under 15 points, and overall, he was shooting 26% from 3 in that stretch.
Yeah.
So he'll be all right. He's young. You're gonna go through some stretches like that. It don't matter how talented you are. It happens to everybody. I'm not worried about Anthony Edwards at all.
Yeah.
But what was really interesting is how Karl Anthony Towns kind of called him out.
I mean, Nick, don't you like Popeyes though? I mean, hey, the chicken sandwich is fire. All I gotta say, it's fire. So, and I understand why you like Popeyes, man. I'm not
young
gonna
too,
hate him.
Man. He's young.
No, I think like they're multi-million-dollar athletes, and if he wants to look like, overweight, then we'll say something.
Dude, he looks like a weak side linebacker in the NFL. The way he's built.
Yeah, I think it's just his motivation to want to play. I think that's something that's been put into question a lot. How motivated is he? Because I feel like we see that a lot. Look at Ben Simmons. He looks the most unmotivated player in the league right now.
Absolutely.
And standing at the 3-point line with his hands on his hips, that doesn't look good for a team. And I think until Ant comes back,
that's when they miss Patrick Beverly, for example, just like you said, because he would be all over him if he was on that team, and that would never have happened if Patrick Beverly was still on the roster.
You have to have veterans like that are going to hold you accountable, because Rudy Gobert is not the guy, because he'll be touching mics or doing whatever he wants to do. But I just feel like this team right now just kind of I think they'll get it. I think they'll start clicking, but right now they've been by far, I think, the worst team in terms of where we expected them to be. We're not going to talk about the Lakers, but we'll just say that's pretty much setting the bar right there.
Yeah.
So another team, I think too.
This one is the most surprising for me personally.
I know you really wanted to talk about this.
Yeah, this one is very interesting. Obviously, it's the Golden State Warriors.
Yeah.
They're currently at 6-8, but the thing is crazy is they are 6-1 at home. They're taking care of home court, but they're 0-7 on the road. They haven't won a single road game, and it's surprising to me because not only that they're the defending champs, but they pretty much bring back everybody. They lost a couple pieces. They lost Otto Porter Jr. They lost Gary Payne. I get all that, but they pretty much have the main core intact. Klay Thompson had a full year of
100%.
Working on his game in the offseason and stuff like that, and their defense in the playoffs, especially in the finals, was excellent. But they're giving up the most points in the NBA right now. They're giving up 119 points a game.
Yeah, that's not going to cut it.
Wow.
It's not going to cut it out west. It's not even going to cut it if you're out east too, because the east is strong. I think, like you said, being a championship team and having that DNA to win games, we have not seen a Warriors team this bad defensively. And
especially in the championship era.
Yeah, and exactly. And I think like you said, bringing out those stats and talking about, they're still one of those top teams offensively right now. If you're top 10 in scoring, shooting, and even getting those, yeah. Steve Kerr, he literally harps and praises, passing the ball, having ball movement. So I think one of the things though, Nick, is their aging core and guys who are younger, like a Moses Moody, a Jonathan Kuminga, James Wiseman.
Yes, sir.
Those guys really haven't lived up to the expectations so far this year, and I think we thought they were going to take a step forward. I know Kuminga had some stretches last year where he looked really good for them, and then obviously Wiseman was out last year with injury. And we know that he's being sent down to the G League right now because he just isn't cutting it. So I would
only averaging 6 points a game or something like that, right?
Yeah, he was barely getting any playing time too. I think one piece that I do want to mention too is that we'll see how DiVincenzo, if they're going to start using him a little bit more in this offense, and not even just that, but also defensively, because I think he's only getting somewhere around 13 minutes a game.
Yeah,
so.
I would have thought as soon as they signed him, I could see him playing 23-minute range a night with this roster.
Yeah.
So it's kind of surprising he's not playing that much.
Yeah, I know they won a couple, I think either a night or two ago with a really good Jordan Poole game, and I think the Jordan Poole and Draymond Green beef that started the year.
Yeah.
That was something that the media is always going to talk about it, but I think it's really how do you respond to that. And I think Draymond's been pretty good about how he handled the whole situation afterwards. And we're not really expecting Draymond to be this offensive threat. I think it's just that as he's getting older, he can't defend at the level that he once could.
Yeah. And what's very interesting too is we got to talk about this slow start offensively for Klay Thompson right now. He's only shooting 35% from the field. He's just not cutting it right now. This is not the normal Klay. Obviously, I don't think we'll ever see the Klay pre-injury Klay, but I just felt like having that full off season but not having an injury to be able to work on your game, I thought he would have put the league on notice, which he hasn't yet. But it's interesting though because he just did an interview. He goes, "Man, people are really forgetting who I am. Like I know I'm off to this slow start, but people are forgetting who Klay Thompson is, man."
Remember, Championship Chuck said that he ain't the same Klay Thompson. So I mean, you know how upset he got after that, and really like went to town on Charles Barkley for that comment. So yeah. I think for the most part, I think Klay will get it together. The last thing you lose is your shooting. I don't think he's about to just become some brick artist.
Absolutely not. No.
You know,
he's a top 5 shooter of all time for a reason.
Yeah,
I mean, it's undeniable the work that he's done in the league.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you know, when we talk about shooting and other things too, you know, I would want to take this one out east. And I think, Nick, one of the things that I've noticed for the beginning of this year, for the first couple of weeks, is, you know, we were talking about the Sixers all offseason. You know, Embiid, Harden finally working out, training during the offseason.
Maxey getting a bigger role.
Yeah, Maxey getting a bigger role. Them bringing in guys like Daniel House, PJ Tucker. Also, you know, keeping your guys like Tobias Harris and some of your other like role
shooters
pieces
off the bench, like Niang.
Yep,
one of them.
Niang.
Yeah.
And I think one of the interesting things was that they had a really slow start to this year.
Yeah, you know, they were 0-3 at one point, and everyone was just looking at Doc Rivers right off the bat. You know, look, they're doing a little better now. You know, they're 7-7 in the standings right now. You know, and obviously the Harden injury, you know, he's going to be out for about a month that they're saying. You know, the biggest problem with Philly is, you know, their lack of offense, and their offensive rating is not good right now. It's at 99.7. It's terrible.
Yeah, I mean, you can't play that slow in the league right now, and one of the biggest problems with Doc's offense is that it's heavy ISO, and they've slowed the ball down way too much. You can't play like that in the NBA right now. I mean, being the bottom of the barrel in like all your ratings, like if you're a 27th ranked scoring team, you're not even rebounding the ball well. You're dead last in the NBA in rebounding. You have Joel Embiid. Do I need to say anything more?
Yeah, I mean, and they're 24th in assists. I know they'll get better in the assist category once you know Harden comes back. But even before Harden got hurt, you know, they were still pretty low in the league in assists too. So it's been very interesting. But I just think they're not getting that much contribution off the bench. No. You know, especially now with Harden being out, you really need some guys to step up.
Oh yeah,
and they just really haven't yet. I mean, look at the game that Embiid just had.
Oh yeah, I mean, dude literally did everything. 59 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists, 7 blocks. I mean, dude almost had a quadruple double.
Yeah, like Akeem Olajuwon, except for he scored 20 more points.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
What it was.
Yeah, and I think like even what I mentioning earlier is that lack of rebounding, and I think they just don't have a true backup center. Montrezl Harrell is a 4. He's playing as an undersized 5.
They should have signed Dwight Howard.
You know, I mean, look at where he's playing. Playing in Taiwan.
I know.
He didn't even get picked up by a team, and I think that's kind of interesting too that they didn't try and pick him up. He had a pretty solid year when he was their backup big 2 years ago, and like you said,
he was huge for the Lakers when they won the championship.
Oh my God, yes,
huge.
Yes, I mean, literally, he played in that Rockets series. Like he was playing. They didn't even play JaVale. They played Dwight. Dwight was literally just bodying these 6'7" guys because he's a 6'10" massive dude with broad shoulders, just jamming on you, getting every rebound and putback and alley-oop.
Yeah.
So, Nick, one of the things with the Sixers, like you said, no scoring. Their bench is only averaging about 23 points every game, and I think something we need to talk about is PJ Tucker.
Yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting because hasn't been present. I mean, I think he's only averaging 4 or 5 points per game.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he's not doing what we normally see out of PJ Tucker. You know, I feel like he's not really defending as well as he used to. He, especially in the Houston days with Harden and CP3, he was the one taking the toughest assignment. Always, I'm not saying that he hasn't. You know, he helped win Milwaukee a championship.
Mm-hmm.
You know, he was on the Miami Heat team that went to the conference finals and stuff like that. So he's a great veteran to have in your locker room. He holds people accountable to it, like him.
Yes.
But I just have not seen that energy out of PJ Tucker that we've normally seen in the past. That's all.
And it was really a friend signing. Like, James Harden definitely recruited him hard. You know, nobody was going to offer him that 3-year deal that he was looking for because he's 37 years old. Let's just keep it a buck.
Mm-hmm.
Father time catches up with everybody. I know it's not caught up with LeBron fully yet, but you know that's 1 out of 450 players in the NBA. So, you know, a lot of other guys
are caught up to so many grades.
Yes, Chris Paul. I don't even think Chris Paul has had an amazing season.
Caught up to Dwayne Wade, Carmelo. It's caught up to so many superstars.
Yes.
Dwight Howard.
Yeah.
I mean, I keep going on and on.
Yeah, I mean, and that's interesting too because you have a guy like Matisse Thybulle who is not playing. The guy's at
that doesn't make any sense.
13 minutes a game. That's what he's getting, and all his minutes are mostly being eaten up by PJ Tucker. PJ's like getting like 30 minutes a game, I think, right now. And I mean, don't get me wrong, when you're shooting 18% from the three and PJ's shooting 46% from the three, I understand why you're doing it as a coach.
Absolutely.
But let's not forget that Matisse Thybulle was one of the best off-ball defenders in the league.
Oh, he's one of the best.
His hands are just...
It's unbelievable.
It's like glue, man.
Yeah,
like,
it's unbelievable. Like, especially in the league where you need guys that are going to be able to defend. You know, PJ Tucker is older now.
Mm-hmm.
So the way that Doc Rivers is playing him these heavy minutes, just like you said, 37 years old, is he going to be able to handle that in an 82-game regular season playing this many minutes? That's why I'm surprised that Thybulle. Like, I understand PJ Tucker should be getting more minutes, you know, just because if you want to go off the shooting aspect, especially when Harden gets back, you know, teams are going to key in on him a lot, and you're going to need to have guys that are going to be able to knock down the perimeter shot. But the thing is, PJ Tucker can only hit corner threes.
Yeah, that's...
You know, he can't hit any threes from the wing or whatever. That's why he's just sitting in the corner.
Well, yeah, and I mean, like, I'll be honest too that PJ Tucker is a better offensive player than Matisse Thybulle. So
absolutely.
He can play two sides. So he can be more of a two-way guy than Matisse. Matisse is really there for defense,
but Matisse is a better defender.
And he's younger. So I get it. You know, it's hard to choose sometimes with these guys. You're trying to, one, keep Harden happy. The other thing, too, is you're just trying to win games, and you believe that PJ Tucker is going to allow you to deliver that. So we'll see.
Yep.
I think the Sixers right now being at 7-7, you know, they're gonna start winning more games. I think Harden coming back will help them with ball distribution. Mm-hmm. I think one of the things that
I think their transition game would be a lot better too.
Yeah, and I think another thing too is they need to stop playing ISO heavy ball. I know that that's the Harden way of playing, but this team is not designed.
They have too much talent to play that way.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. Like, Tobias Harris is your fourth option. When Presley constructed as the team is healthy, you know, there's not a lot of teams I could say that a fourth option they have on their team is Tobias Harris. So it's crazy. They got you know, crazy depth on this team. Obviously, it hasn't panned out yet so far this year, but just like you said, when Harden comes back, you know, I expect this team to be somewhere probably top 5 in the Eastern Conference when it's all said and done.
Yeah, 100%. And I think Tyrese Maxey's evolution as a point guard and / shooting guard, I think he has been one of their most valuable pieces.
Absolutely.
And that's why they did.
You saw it in the playoffs, especially in Toronto. That first game, he was cooking.
And let's just keep it real right now, Nick.
Yeah.
Everybody in Philly is saying, thank God we did not trade Tyrese Maxey in that James Harden trade. Because remember, they wanted Tyrese Maxey. And a man named Daryl Morey said, no, sir. We're not trading him.
Nope.
So, and I think, Nick, talking about another team that we remember was one shot away from the NBA Finals, the Miami Heat right now. What's going on with them?
You know, they're also off to a slow start. You know, they're 7-7 right now. And what's really surprising to me is they have so much talent on this team. And it just blows my mind that how are they struggling this bad offensively? You know, as a team, they're 19th in scoring. You know, and not only that, like they're 27th in rebounding and they're 23rd in field goal percentage, which is kind of crazy because they got a lot of guys that can light it up. They got Tyler Robinson, Tyler Hero, Strus, you know, Jimmy Butler. He's not a three-point shooter, obviously, but, you know, he could still give you mid-40% from the field. He could shoot the mid-range. He could post up. You know, you got Bam Adebayo down low. Then you got Kyle Lowry is one of the, you know, true point guards in the league. Not saying he's one of the best point guards, but I'm talking about a guy that can orchestrate an offense. I love Kyle Lowry.
Yeah, and I got to ask you, Nick, do you think he'll have a bounce back year?
Yeah.
I see it. I think some of the stuff that we didn't know everything that was going on behind the scenes. I know he was out for personal reasons and stuff. So, hopefully that this year that isn't the case. But like you said, they have a lot of shooters. I think one of the biggest no-nos that Spoelstra did was inserting Tyler Hero into the starting lineup instead of him being a sixth man. Because when he was the sixth man, he was cooking. Now let's remember, Duncan Robinson, he's a good three-point shooter. His numbers haven't looked great. I know the last 2 years.
Yeah. You know what's crazy about him is after he signed that monster 5-year, was it 5-year, $95 million?
Yeah.
And then that following year, he wasn't even in the rotation in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then the media was killing him. How are you not playing him? And he ends up start playing him later on in the playoffs.
Yeah, and I think it was kind of interesting too is that Duncan Robinson really made his name in that COVID year. Like even before COVID hit, like he was playing pretty well and he was getting some minutes. I think that bubble run is just going to be something that helped him get that big.
Even Tyler Hero too with the bubble.
But look at Tyler Hero, 6th man of the year. His numbers are continuing to go up, but that's because he can create his own shot, and I think that's something that that Duncan Robinson cannot do, and I think that's it's hurting their second unit. They're also missing PJ Tucker, and I know that Markieff Morris didn't really get to play for them because of the Jokic injury last year, where he got hit in the hit in the back, and the whole thing kind of kept him out for most of the year. So we didn't see we didn't see him on the Heat, and I think he would have been a good backup for them. And missing your starting 4 right now in PJ Tucker, corner 3, bringing that defense, I think that's something that they are missing. Like that's something that it's hard to replace, especially a guy like PJ Tucker who brings championship pedigree, brings tenacity, brings you hustle, and is going to play every possession like it's the last one.
Yeah, I completely agree with that.
So I think they'll be fine. Jimmy Butler blocking Devin Booker 2 nights ago. I mean, you can't ask for more than that. Jimmy is still playing.
Miami should not have any issues being a top 6 team in the Eastern Conference this year.
No,
shouldn't have any issues.
I can't see them. I can't see them dropping into the play-in. I think that they're just too good for that. And I really hope, Nick, this next team does not have to deal with that. But we're talking about our hometown Chicago Bulls.
They're 6-8 right now, and they are missing Lonzo Ball bad.
Yeah,
they're missing him so bad right now. And what's crazy is besides the Knicks, this is the most mediocrity team in the league besides the Knicks right now. When you look at all the categories, they're 18th in scoring. They're in the middle of the pack of that. They're 20th in rebounding. Mm-hmm. They're a little bit in the middle of the pack for that. And what stood out to me is when you have Vooch and Drummond, on your team, they're 19th in field goal percentage and they're 18th in assists. So they're literally in the middle of the pack in all the big, statistical categories. They obviously you want to be good in to be able to compete for a championship. So
yeah, and I think it's kind of interesting that you point out about being kind of in the middle of the pack, especially with rebounding. I know Vooch is getting somewhere around 11.5 rebounds a game.
And 16 points a game.
Yeah, I mean, and he's having a pretty solid year. Bulls fans, remember, don't start hating on Vooch now just because he started playing well. You got to remember is that the guy was the first option on a Orlando Magic team that didn't have a lot of.
Do you know what this Vooch reminds me of? So it kind of reminds me of when Miami formed the Big Three.
Yeah.
And obviously, Chris Bosh was the third wheel, and people forget that Chris Bosh did not have a good year that first year in Miami.
No.
And it took him a while because obviously you go from being a top 10 player in the league in Toronto and you're averaging, what was he averaging? Crazy stats. He used 20 and 10 easily. I don't know the stats exactly, and you're one of the best power forwards in the world, and you end up joining the team with pre-injured D Wade and LeBron. They're 2 of the top 5 players in the world at the time. Obviously you're going to have to do some sacrificing, and with Vooch, it's kind of hard where obviously he was the first option in Orlando. He was an all-star, 2-time all-star, I think, actually. And obviously you get on a team with DeMar and Zach. And they're ball-dominant guys, and they're both going to be putting up at least 17, 18-plus shots a night. It's kind of hard to see that Orlando Vooch, but Vooch is shooting the 3 ball a lot better so far this year than last year because he was very bad from the 3-point line. That's what us Bulls fans were killing him. Is if you're going to stand on the perimeter like that, you better be able to at least knock down 36% or higher from 3. I don't 100%. Know what he was last year, but I know as of right now he's shooting at 39% right now. So Bulls fans, you can't be killing him right now because he's actually doing a lot better from the perimeter than he did last year. So.
And Nick, I pulled up those stats real quick that you wanted to see for Chris Bosh. So that year before he went to Miami was his best year. He averaged 24, shot about 52% from the field, was shooting 36% from 3. Awesome. And at 2009,
if you're putting up 24 points a game, it's like dropping 29 or more a game now.
And shooting that high from the 3 as a big man too was unheard of at that time. I mean, him and Kevin Love were like those 2 guys that could shoot the 3 as big men. And he was also, grabbing a good amount of boards. And then that first year in Miami, drops to 18.7 points. He didn't shoot well from the 3. It's the same thing here. When you are going from one extreme to now being kind of like that second, third wheel in a team, it's never gonna mesh right away.
It's not. It's definitely not.
It's so hard to really judge a player just based off of what you've seen in a sample size. So, we'll see how the Bulls keep playing. I think another thing that we have to be honest about too is DeMar. I think DeMar has been good for the most part, and I don't have the official stats right in front of me right now, but
I saw that he was averaging just under 24 a game. I think he was at 23.9 right now. I don't really know the exact. I don't have the exact stats on me right now.
So I just think that what we saw last year, we're not going to necessarily see again this year. We'll see something similar.
Teams are starting to double him more. Teams are starting to. Okay, he can't get to that mid-range spot anymore.
Exactly.
They're not, especially when Vooch is the screener all the time. They were playing a little bit off because especially how bad Vooch struggled from the perimeter last year. Now, since he's able to, he's shooting it at a high clip right now. And people are forgetting too, he's actually shooting over 90% from the free throw line right now too. And Vooch dropped last year from the free throw line percentage, but now teams can start to play up more, especially they can switch right away now.
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying?
No, I get what you're saying too. And I think also missing a guy like Lonzo who can control tempo and also shoot from the 3 at a very efficient rate, I think also hurts you. One person that I do want to talk about is Goran Dragic. Yes. And I know that he has actually been part of the reason why the Bulls have won a couple games this year. Now, Goran, who is, again,
by far our best bench player.
Yeah, he's shooting.
Drummond's been excellent too.
Oh yeah, I can't complain about Drummond. Drummond is doing what he needs to do. I'm not expecting much more from the big penguin, but Goran is shooting 45% from the 3, and I know that it doesn't always show up in the box score, but him being that second unit general, being the point guard, doing those veteran things where coaching guys, telling guys where to be. Doing those little things sometimes will go farther than you think, because if you just look at it as a box score fan, you're like, okay, he's like averaging 10 points a game, but what is he doing? I mean, now mind you, he's doing that in like 16, 17 minutes, so it's not like
that's what I'm saying.
It's not like he's
balling for the minutes that he's getting right now. And going back on Lonzo real quick, I think the Bulls, some of the games that they have lost this year has been completely devastating because their crunch time right now, it's terrible.
Oh yeah.
It really shows that they don't have the true point guard. It kind of reminds me of the Boston Celtics last year. Obviously they made the finals last year. I'm not saying the Bulls are going to make the finals or anything, but that Marcus Smart being their starting point guard, I love me some Marcus Smart, but not having a true point guard eventually is going to catch up to you. And I think with the Bulls right now, I love Ayo Dosunmu, I love Caruso, I love, Ayo has picked up his game offensively and stuff, but
100%.
We don't have that point guard that knows when to speed the game up and when to slow the game down. The only one that we kind of have is Goran Dragic, as we talked about, but he's not the starter. He's not getting the big minutes like Ayo and Caruso are getting more minutes than him. Yeah. So that's what I mean by, the crunch time with Lonzo.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, it's hard for Billy Donovan to start a guy who's 36, 37 years old in high minutes. It is. I mean, that's the reality is that a lot of teams didn't want to touch Goran because of how old he is, and like you're not going to really get a lot of minutes in the league. And that's why I think he felt disrespected by a lot of teams, and which is why he didn't re-sign with Brooklyn and why he didn't go to like other teams because they were like, oh, like we're not gonna really play you. And then Chicago reaches out. I know Vooch was heavy in the recruiting for that too. So
it's crazy that the Bulls got not only Braun but Drummond for combined like $4 or $5 million.
And do you know where they played last year, Nick?
Yeah.
So, I wish that we had more time to talk about Brooklyn, but I'll leave it off with this. You might be thinking about blowing that team up soon because they don't look good. They just got blown out by the Kings yesterday.
Oh, yeah, it was bad. If you're getting, the Kings are, they're not a bad team per se, but
watch out for the Kings.
If you're going to be down by 30 plus points and the third quarter's not even over yet, and the thing with Brooklyn though is they've been playing better without Kyrie Irving. They were 4-1 the first five. They were 4-1 in their first 5 games without Kyrie.
Yeah.
I don't know what the record is now per se, but I know they were 6-8,
6 and 9. So they're 6 and 9 right now, and I think we'll see what happens with them. But I just wanted to point that out real quickly before we sign off today. So again, guys, if you've reached to the end of the video, thank you so much for listening to us today. We appreciate all your guys' support and feedback and your love, and we just love to share the game that we love so much. And continue to look more for further episodes. We'll have the link for our Spotify as well in the description down below, and we will be making sure to get content out a lot quicker, a lot sooner moving forward. So
yeah, and absolutely, and we're also going to be dropping some videos here and there about our reaction to maybe a specific player that had like a really good game or whatever of some sort. So it's not just going to be episodes, but we're just going to drop a little clips here and there of like our reactions to some specific stuff. So I'm very excited for that as well.
Yeah, no, definitely excited to be sharing some more with you guys. We're going to definitely have some more topics, some more things that we're going to do on the show moving forward. Some special guests that in the future.
I can't wait.
So keep looking out for us, guys. And I'm Alex.
And I'm Nick.
And this is All Ball, No Foul. Thank you guys, and have a good night.